Yeah, hello everyone. We'll start the session now. I'll just wait for. Hello everyone. Welcome to week one of Learning Analytics Tools live problem solving session. My name is Indrani. I will be TA for this course, and for next 12 to 13 weeks, I will be conducting the live interactions with you all, where we will be briefly discussing what happened in that week, followed by some practice questions, which would be mix of questions which are similar to assignment questions from previous year's assignment. Okay, so we will maintain this same schedule. Yeah. Yeah. So I will be posting this link onto the chat box. Okay, somehow it did not. Sorry. Yeah. So if you miss this live sessions, you will get the videos, the screen recordings of these live sessions will be uploaded on YouTube, and you can find all the session recording on this particular link, which I have pinned in the chat box, so that the people who have joined in late can also have access to that link. Okay. So this was about me. I'm a PhD student at IIT Bombay. My area of interest and research is about learning analytics. So we will have a lot of fun where I will share my experience of using learning analytics for my PhD work, and I will try to link that to the concepts which we are learning. And don't worry, this will be a no coding type of code, or we will not be discussing statistics or the technical details of any of the concepts, but we will try to understand the concepts. Okay. So, what exactly we will be doing in these sessions is this particular Google Meet link will remain the same throughout the run of this course. Okay, that means for all 12 13 weeks. So 13th week we will be taking revision. So if you guys, so I'll be taking poll at the end on the 12th week. So if there is a revision required, or any particular topic needs to be gone through again, then we can have an extra session. Otherwise, for every week there will be 12 sessions. Okay, so the last point, that avoid unmuting, and we'll try to maintain the decorum, that will be applicable only if there are many people. So if there are few people, then I would have love to have a interactive session where everyone gets a chance to get involved in the discussion, so that we don't make it one too many session, but we make it all of us together. We will try to solve, so that kind of session. So one request would be, don't take the last point very seriously. Use the chat box actively, type in all your doubts, all your questions in the chat box. Use the hand raise function, so that I can give you a chance. The hand raise function is right at the bottom of your toolbar at the Google Meet. So use that function, so that it's an indicator for me to stop or pause and give you guys chance to speak. So don't worry about maintaining decorum. We would make this session as interactive as possible. Okay, so shall we dive in onto the subject, or I will wait for any clarification questions or any doubts which you want to ask. So I'll pause for a minute here, and will give chance to all of you. If you have any doubts, please, or any concerns. One clarification from my side is we cannot change the time of these sessions. That will happen on Tuesday at 7 p.m. I will try to start the sessions at sharp 7 p.m. and will try to end when the discussion ends. Okay. So there are people joining in. So if there are any questions, any concerns, please let me know. Yeah, yes, Komana, if I've pronounced your name right. Yeah. Yeah, good evening. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So you will notice that no notification regarding these sessions is put up in announcement section. And apart from that, as and when this session happens, you will notice on left hand side there would be a live session or problem solving session. I don't remember the exact word, but something will pop up per week. You know, week 1 lecture 1, lecture 2, lecture 3, and then there is assignment quiz, and then there are lecture notes. So after all those options on left hand side of the screen, there will be problem solving session tab will appear. So when you click on that link, you will be given a link of a Excel sheet, the Google sheet, not Excel, the Google sheet. So if you go onto that Google sheet, I will be updating a link to the PDF which I will be using, like these notes which I have shared. Apart from the notes which Professor Ramkumar Rajendran will be using during the discussion or during the lectures, the videos what you have watched, those PDFs are also shared with you. Apart from that, the PDFs which we will be using during these discussions with marking, with the work which we would be doing, all that will be shared, and links to all that will be given into that Google sheet link. Okay. I hope I've cleared your doubt. Oh, okay. So you could not hear. So what I'm saying is, in short, that link to the recordings of this session will be shared, and link to the PDF which I will be using, that will be shared to you through Swayam portal. On Swayam portal, you will find a link to Google Sheet, where in that Google Sheet I will be updating every week's PDFs. This PPT I have converted to PDF so that I can mark on it and we can have a written discussion onto this. So this will be shared with all of you. Everybody who is attending, who is not attending, everyone will have access to this PDFs. I hope, Komana, now it is clear. Yeah, okay. So coming to Akshay's doubt, Akshay is asking, will this session be held every week? Yes, it will be held every week for 12 weeks continuous, and 13th week as and when required, like revision session, if it is required, that will also be conducted. Okay, so please raise your hands if you think we should dive onto the today's week's content and topic, or type in the chat box. Okay, great. I have gotten 6, 7, 8. Great, great, great. Okay, so what you can take down your hands and we'll dive into the content. Okay, so the title of the course itself is Learning Analytics Tools. So let's discuss every word. You know, what do we mean by learning? What do we mean by analytics? And what do we mean by tools? So many of people who register for this course come from diverse background. So generally, and all of us are interested into understanding how teaching learning happens, or how to improve that teaching learning scenario, how teachers can improve their learning outcomes, or how they can improve their students' performance, so that all those concerns related to teaching and learning will be encompassed in the word learning. Then comes word analytics. Okay, so what exactly mean by analytics is analyzing the numbers or analyzing the data available, is the straightforward usual meaning of analytics. So when we combine this learning and analytics together, that means we are analyzing the data which is related to learning, which is related to teaching learning. Yeah, so we will analyze that data with the purpose of improving the teaching learning performance, improving the students performance, improving the learning outcome of our course, and so on and so forth. So everything related to classroom teaching learning scenario, Or apart from classroom teaching learning scenario, there is a online teaching learning scenario or computer based teaching learning scenario, where there are systems or apps which teach students about different topics and different subjects. So apart from the teaching learning happening in classroom setting or in schools and colleges, there is a huge teaching learning scenarios or huge teaching learning options available in the form of computer based learning environments or open-ended learning environments or learning apps, etc. So all those computer-based learning environments, they capture students' data. Just like when we log into YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, we create our profile, we are browsing some content on that website. So that means we are actually generating the data by giving our profile, our names, and our all our details. And by browsing the videos onto YouTube and Instagram, we are giving preferences about our likes and dislikes to that to the database, and based on that data the recommendation system works. Okay, so in YouTube, if you try googling teach me about Python codes, or some concepts about the Python codes, then just a minute, huh? Please excuse me. हाँ 380 539 ये या प्लीज
380 539
हाँ 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 yeah, sorry for that. So based on that data which we have generated, so the engine works for our personalization. So when we search for teach me Python computing or some Python coding, so we will be getting all the videos related to teaching and learning Python programming onto our home screen of YouTube. So that is how the back engine works. So if we want to replicate that into a computer based learning environment or onto our classroom teaching, that okay, identifying needs of the students and then modifying our teaching accordingly so that the students needs are met properly and our learning outcomes are improved. So that's the goal of doing learning analytics. Yeah. And tools is, since this is a no code course, we will not be coding for any of the analytics which we will be doing. So we will be taking help from the tools which are easily available, which are open source or which are subscription based. So we will be exploring such a couple of tools. If you are interested, then you can further explore it, but we will be doing a small introduction to such tools through the videos and through the demo sessions. So that was about the name of the course. Okay, so now coming now again doing the deep dive about what is learning analytics exactly. Now we have seen overall what is analytics and what do we mean by very vaguely what is learning analytics. But what does the textbook says, or since we don't have proper textbooks for learning analytics, what does the community, people who have been doing this work and who are expert in the field, what are they saying about what is learning analytics? Okay, so there is a conference which happens which is called learning analytics, learning data analytics conference, where all the senior people or senior professors, senior scientists who are working in this learning analytics areas, they come together and they present their state of the art work in the area. So in 2011, during the keynote discussion, they came up with this widely accepted definition of learning analytics, where everyone agreed ki yes, this is what is meaning of learning analytics. So it is a not only limited to analytics, but it starts at very basic, where we are collecting the data. Okay, so when we are measuring something, so sometimes a few things can be measured by direct data like our height, weight, our age, etc. And for measurements of a few things, we need to have a self-report data, like survey for example, where you say how are you feeling today, from very happy to very sad, on that rating, how are you feeling today. So that is also a data or measurement of your feelings or of the happiness, the degree of happiness. So that is also measurement. So that is also part of this learning analytics process. Okay, so learning analytics is the measurement, collection. So once we have given the survey, we are taking back the survey, we are collecting that data, and now we have that data. We will analyze that data. Say so now there are 51 attendees in the meeting, so I'm excluding myself, so that means 50 learners have joined this particular meeting, and all 50 of you respond to that survey. So I'm collecting that survey back, and now I have data of feelings of those 50 students. So out of 50, say 40 students are feeling extremely happy, 5 students are feeling neutral, and say 1 or 2 students are feeling extremely sad. So that is the basic analysis which we did with the data. And now report. So reporting is how we are presenting this, or how we are inferring based on our analysis. So that reporting of data about learners and their context. So here the data was of learners. The context is the students feelings during the live interaction of learning analytics tools NPTEL course. So that was the context. So this context is set up for different learning environment or different teaching learning scenarios, like I mentioned, classroom teaching learning scenario, or computer based teaching learning scenarios, or educational app based teaching learning scenario, and so on. So there would be endless possibilities of even the context. So what is the purpose of doing all this is to understand how the learning happens, to gain insights about how the learning happens. So once we gain insights about how learning is happening, we can have the interventions so that the teaching learning outcomes are improved and our understanding of human learning also improves, so that we can optimize the learning or the environments in which occur. Okay, so that's the definition of learning analytics. So there are two major parts of learning analytics. Is one is the main learning analytics. The other major chunk or other major part is educational data mining. So machine learning, analytics, data analytics, and data mining, all these are buzzwords, and all these buzzwords, when they came into the learning domain, that became LA, which is learning analytics. The data mining, DM, became EDM, educational data mining. So the data mining algorithms or data mining techniques, when they are applied onto education domain or data collected from educational setting, that will be called as educational data mining. Okay, so moving on to what is academic analytics and what is learning analytics. So this information may be repetitive for those who have watched the videos, but since I have been conducting such live sessions, this is my third year of conducting this live session, so my general observation and general experiences, majority of you are either working professionals or are full-time students who have their own courseworks and own commitments. So many of the times you guys don't have time to watch complete video. So I have started doing a small recap of that week's content before we dive into the question answers. So take this as recap. So those who would have watched the videos, for them it would be repetition, but those who couldn't watch the videos, for them it would be a gist of what happened in week 1 lectures. Okay, so here we are diving into academic analytics versus learning analytics. So what is learning analytics and what is academic analytics? So academic analytics is done more from operational and financial decision making point of view, whereas learning analytics, as we discussed, it is very specifically done in keeping the focus onto students and teaching learning processes, with the goal of improving the teaching learning scenarios, with the goal of optimizing the learning environment, be it classroom learning environment or be it computer based learning environment or educational app, how we can optimize to bring about the best performance of the students. So that's the main goal into learning analytics. But academic analytics is focused onto the business of an institution, where they would be kind of evaluating the performance of the institute as a whole. They would not be worried about the performance of the students, and they would be mostly the management or executive will be involved in this, and they would be using it for decision making, whether how much to invest onto, or which new courses to start in our institute, and all those decisions, what type of analytics they would be doing would be coming under academic analytics. And in learning analytics, as we have already discussed, that this discussion or the whole purpose or the focus is on students learning and improving students learning and improving learning outcomes. So there is no overlap between academic analytics and learning analytics, but there is a very huge overlap between learning analytics and EDM. So by LA, I would be meaning learning analytics. And EDM is short form for educational data mining. So don't get overwhelmed for now. If these words are new, we will get familiar with these words as the course progresses. Okay, so if these words are new, don't worry. We will be trying to understand what is the meaning of these words, and how we can uh, understand them. Okay, so now coming to what are different types of learning analytics. So we understood that okay, there is some data which we are collecting, and then now we are analyzing that data. But there are different ways or different, I can say, different purposes to analyze that data, and the ways to analyze depend on for what purpose you have been analyzing that data. Okay, so simple way to remember these types is when you describe something, you're trying to understand what is happening or what has happened already, with the data which we have collected from classroom that has already happened. So with that data, the one way would be to describe what has happened. Say for example, now our session attendee number has gone up to 52, and out of those 52, I am the one. So there are total 51 students. So how I can describe the attendance is 51 students, and then I would be floating a gender survey that okay, how many are male, how many are female, and then probably with the help of a pie chart, I would be saying that okay, these many males and these many females, out of 100% they were these many males and these many females. So I'm describing this data, what exactly is happening or what it is going on. So that question is answered in descriptive analytics, as the word is very intuitive. Okay, descriptive, the description of something, descriptive analytics. Then what happens is what happens in diagnostic analytics is why did it happen. So I'll take a simple example, that there are some assignments in a course or some mid semester exams, and then the end semester or the university exam happens. So generally what happens is their mid semester exams and the assignment exam score is also a part of the final scoring. So if somebody is failing in a particular course, then the major reason would be they might not have done their assignments properly, they might not have submitted their assignments properly, missed submitting some assignments, and maybe they had poor performance in mid semester exam. So this is what has happened. But we have that data, okay, this is the assignment score of the student, this is the mid semester exam score of the student, and then we are trying to understand that what exactly happened and why the score is low. So there we are diagnosing what is happening. Okay, we are trying to understand why something has happened, why did it happen. So we try to dive deeper into the actions or the data which we have, and we try to understand that what led to something happening with the help of our data, with the help of support from our data. Then becomes predictive analytics, where the machine learning techniques come into picture, that we have this data as we discussed that assignment score and the mid semester exam score that would help in predicting the final grade of a particular student in that particular subject. So we could have a nice predictive ML algorithm for that particular subject, and with the help of this data we could predict what would be the final score of a particular student. Okay, so that's the predictive, that what will happen in near future. Then prescriptive analytics is okay, we have predicted that okay, this is so many students are going to get the A plus grade, and so many students are going to score 90 plus out of 100 marks in the final exam. but now we need to take some actions to make that happen. We can't just leave that. Okay, so prescriptive analytics is a part where the optimization of the learning environment, if you remember from the definition of learning analytics, that comes. Okay, so here this is related to optimization part. Optimization of learning environment, that you have done all this, you have described the data, you have understood that why particular things are happening, and you have predicted that this is going to happen. But now if that outcome is positive, then you have to make sure that that is going to happen. If that outcome is negative, that okay, say out of 20 students, 5 are identified as at risk student, so then you have to take some remedial measures for those at risk students. So that will come under prescriptive analytics. Okay, so we have one question in the chat box about what is the difference between EDM and LA. Okay, so LA, learning analytics, is the entire process which encompasses the data collection, data pre-processing, data analysis, then reporting of that data, interpreting of that data, and acting upon that data by optimizing the teaching learning environment. Okay, so that the whole thing is learning analytics. And what do we mean by educational data mining is there are some data mining techniques which are widely used in other contexts, like the YouTube or the Instagram example which we discussed in the beginning. So those things, those personalization algorithms, they actively use this data mining technique, that they mine our huge data, our likes, our dislikes, the videos which we have liked, the videos which we generally watch, the channels to which we have subscribed. So based on all that data, they deduce, or they have some model for us, that okay, a person watching Swayam lectures or NPTEL lectures on YouTube is more likely to watch some technical videos about Python programming, or some technical videos about some no code machine learning algorithm tools. So they would push those video recommendation in between your YouTube page. Yeah, so this is a small part of data mining. Yeah, so when we do those data mining techniques into educational setting, to be more specific, we would be doing this in upcoming weeks, but the YouTube example was very simplified. The more concrete example for EDM would be, we have log data of students. When students are say there is a online learning environment where students are learning maths. Yeah, so they are logging into the system, they are clicking on a particular topic, they are going in, they are watching some video, they are reading, and they are solving some quiz questions, check your understanding quiz questions. And then at the end of the chapter, there is one assessment, the huge assessment, which has some 10-15 MCQs and some 5 word problems which they are solving. So all these actions, since it's a computer based environment, so all these actions are getting captured in the form of log data. Yeah, so that log data we can use to have to understand the differences in the learning processes of students who did well in the exam, compared with the learning processes of students who could not do so well in the exam. So high scoring students versus low scoring students. So in such cases, that log data, we can do the data mining techniques such as sequential pattern mining, that which patterns or which sequence of actions combined together are leading to better learning of some topics when by high scorers, compared to which actions or which sequence of actions which is leading to not really very good learning outcomes. So we can have some comparative analysis and try to understand that why a particular thing is happening and how a particular thing is happening in with respect to learning. Yeah, so we have other question, how EDM is implemented. So yeah, this was the explanation of sequential pattern mining, was how EDM we implement in classroom teaching. So in computer based learning environment, the logs are automatically generated. In classroom teaching, you can have teacher observations, or student self report data, or some researcher observation, somebody sitting in your classroom and noting down what is happening, how it is happening, if a particular group of students, so how their engagement is varying. So generally what happens is, students who are sitting in the front benches are highly engaged, and the students sitting in the back are have little lower engagement. So that's a general case, not always, but that's the general observations of teachers who are teaching in large classrooms. So you can have this, while teaching also, you do use this data mining teaching. I mean, the teachers use this data mining teaching, that they observe, okay, I'm saying these things when I'm giving examples from the subject only, then only the first benchers are able to understand it. But when I try to correlate that with some real life example, some example outside the subject, then everyone is able to understand or relate it. So this is the inference which you are drawing from that classroom data. So what happens in a classroom also, teacher is constantly noting down or logging what is going on in the classroom, and that log, that may not be in digital format, but at the back of teacher's mind, that is how the input is processed, the information is processed, and the decision about modification of the pedagogy, or changing the way a particular class is getting conducted, that changes. So this entire process is happening, this entire process is happening in classroom. But we will be trying to understand that with the help of log data in EDM. So in classroom data, in the minds of teacher, these things are constantly happening, and they are doing it. They are trying to see, how many people are present, how many people are absent. So right from there, the descriptive analytics to diagnostic, okay, why is particular thing happening? Okay, I'm explaining some topic, but many people are not understanding, many people are getting confused. So I'll try to understand, so why it is happening. Okay, maybe the words which I'm using are students are not familiar with, so let me simplify it. Let me change the way I'm teaching a particular subject or a particular topic. So that way I can gauge, okay, students are understanding or not understanding, and then let me change it, so that becomes part of the prescriptive analytics. So this entire thing is not only limited to data, the digital data, the data in electronic format, but this is observed in classroom setting also. This has been happening in classroom setting for long enough, and now it is getting translated into electronic version. So everything which we are discussing, if some of you are teachers, then they can also share their experiences, that okay, we do this thing in classroom, but we don't know that this is called diagnostic analytics, or this is called prescriptive analytics. So teachers mainly take the remedial classes all the time. So taking remedial classes is nothing but prescriptive analytics. So we have given a fancy nice little word for that activity, but those things are actually happening, and have been happening for many years. I think always it's been happening. So I think the questions are starting from next slide. So before that, if there are any doubts, you can unmute and ask, or you can type in the chat box. So I hope the questions by Komanna and Mr. Sham Kulkarni were answered. And if there are, I'll wait for one more minute. If there are some questions, if people are typing, then let's wait for the question to pop up. If we can move to questions, if I can get at least 10 of the hand raises, maybe we can jump to the question solving. Yeah, 2, 4, 7. Okay, great. So hand raise count is to 10. So let's move on to questions. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So I will read out the questions. I guess a few of you would be joining in from your phone. So for your benefit, I will be reading out the question, and then you can type in the answer in the chat boxes. Okay, I see one answer already there, but let me read the question first. A teacher decided to conduct extra remedial lectures 1 week before the final exam for students who failed in the mid semester. What type of analytics is she doing? So we already discussed this. So I am expecting more answers, not just 3 in the chat box. So we just now discussed this, that how this becomes part of prescriptive analytics process, that we are doing some in lectures, actually, Professor Ramkumar has explained this whole the analytics process with the help of how we visit to doctor, and he has tried to relate to every analytics to our doctor visit. That when we go to doctor, we describe what is happening. Okay, my tummy is aching, I am having headache, my body temperature has increased. So this is how we are describing the symptoms. Then what doctor does is, doctor tries to understand that why a particular thing is happening. Did you eat outside food? Okay, were you exposed to somebody who was sick? Could it be viral? So all these cross questioning happens, and doctor also may be prescribing some blood tests or something to you. And when you there the prediction happens. Okay, it could be malaria, it could be normal viral fever, it could be something else. So okay, let's do some blood test, so that the predictive analytics is happening. And once everything comes together, then the final, they will be, once they have identified if a particular what is wrong with you, so that gets identified, then medicine is prescribed to you. So that's the whole process of analytics. The same thing, when gets translated into learning scenario, the teaching learning scenario, that becomes learning analytics, where we are describing what is going on, then diagnosing why a particular thing has happened. We try to find the cause of a particular thing. Then we predict that, okay, this could be the cause, that may be the cause. Okay, let me have 2-3 options opened, let me modify or optimize the teaching learning environment. So we are coming to prescriptive analytics, so optimizing the teaching learning environment so that the learning outcomes have achieved. So I see Khushi's hand raised for quite a long. So if you have any doubts, Khushi, please unmute and ask. Oh, I'm guessing that would be by mistake. So yes, all of you are correct. I got so many option 4s in the chat box. So all of you are correct. Option 4 is the right answer. This is the prescriptive analytics example. Okay. So question 2, using the mid semester performance of the students in the class to anticipate students' performance in final exam is dash is what kind of analytics? Option 1, descriptive analytics. Option 2, diagnostic analytics. Option 3, predictive analytics. And option 4, prescriptive analytics. Okay, great. So I'm getting all correct answers in the chat box, so I'm very happy about it. So here what they are doing is they are anticipating what their performance in the final exam would be. So that very straightforward question, that would be predictive analytics, trying to predict the final exam score based on their mid-semester performance. Okay, so shall we move on to question 3? Question 3, which of the following sentences is not true about educational data mining? Okay, it's not true. So we have had a discussion on educational data mining also. There is a lot of overlap between learning analytics and educational data mining. When we say data mining, we don't include almost every step of learning analytics, but we try to gain more information by mining that data using the methods which are already existing for data mining, and we are modifying that for educational context, so it becomes educational data mining. So in addition to all data mining techniques, what learning analytics includes is, it includes the machine learning techniques also. various machine learning techniques, or various nowadays it's the age of generative AI. So that generative AI, usage of generating AI for analytics, that will be part of the bigger umbrella of learning analytics. Yeah. So I'm getting almost all the correct options. I'm not able to spot wrong options here, so but we will go by every option one by one. It is the process of getting useful insights from data. Yes, that's very true. That's the whole point of analyzing the data, to gain more insight, or to so that we are able to conclude something out of that data. Okay. It includes validating learner model or a hypothesis about learning from learners and the data. So okay, again, that's true. We are trying to investigate, or we are trying to understand why a particular thing has happened. We speculate, okay, that may be the reason. So let's try to find a support from the data, whether our reasoning or whether our hypothesis is true. Okay, then option 3, so that's also, so option 2 is also true. Then option 3, it helps to make recommendations to learners by analyzing the data. Then again, yeah, we have seen this with the YouTube wala example, that with the help of that data, when we analyze that data, we are able to identify the learner needs. Okay, what a particular learner is needs, how to optimize learning environment for that particular learner. So, and one way of optimizing is by giving recommendations. So option 3 also is correct. And option 4 is, it is only a branch of artificial intelligence. So no, that is wrong. It is not only the branch of artificial intelligence. It is much more than that. Okay. So question 4, which of the below statements is least important for academic analytics? Okay, we have seen the academic analytics and learning analytics, and what's the major difference between them. Okay, so I will go by the options. Option 1 is attendance of teachers. So academic analytics is generally performed by the administrators who are looking after the school or colleges or universities. The kind of analytics they would be doing, that comes under academic analytics. So for them, attendance of teachers would be very useful. When you are to run some establishment, you need to know if everybody associated with that establishment is coming, they are attending or not. Okay, so teachers' attendance is also important for academic analytics. Then pass percentage of students in course X. Okay, pass percentage and students in a particular course. Okay, so I have underlined these 3 words. We'll come back to it later. Then option 3 is performance of school A in city B. Okay, so I'm running a school A in city B. So for me, that what is the performance of my school, what is the 10th standard board result of my school, that would be kind of important for me, so that I can market my school accordingly. Okay, my school's result was 100%, or my school's result was 96%, 98%. So so our school is doing better, so please enroll your child into our school. Yeah, that's right. So option 3 would also be important. Yeah, so that the new students come and enroll into my school or my institution. Then option 4 is graduation rate of students in particular university. So if I am doing academic analytics for a university, at university level instead of school level, so then for them, the graduation rate of students would be directly giving us the performance of that university. Okay, 500 students enrolled into our university, and 480 students were able to graduate in time. Yeah, so that way also I will be able to market my university, right? Now let us come back to option 2, pass percentage of students in course X. So in my university, there are some 10 programs being run simultaneously. Out of those 10 programs, one program ka third year mein there is one course X being run. So will I care that much whether 10% of students have failed, or 50% students have failed, or 60% students have failed? For me, that information would not matter that much for administrative from running a institution from administrative point of view. But other 3 options would be giving me more insights about helping me to run the institution or to market the institution, to keep business of my institution running. But pass percentage of students in course X may not help in running the business of that institution for me, right? So yeah, somebody very rightly said it will be learning analytics. Yeah, since there is students, so learning analytics is student centric, but academic analytics is administration centric or business centric. Yeah, so since there is a word students passing percentage in particular course X, that this sentence becomes the topic of learning analytics and not academic analytics. But whereas others, all other options or other tasks are simply the academic analytics. Okay, so moving on to question 5. Which of the following sentences is not true about academic analytics? Okay, so let's not get confused. Okay, here they had asked what is least important, and here they have asked what is not true. So we have to kind of find out the statements which are false. Okay, so first statement is academic analytics provide support to operational and financial decision making of stakeholders. Yes, because they are running business, so they are liable for operational running of the institution and financial decision making of the institution. Then their focus is on business of the institution. That's also true. The focus is on business of the institution. Then the focus is on students learning. Okay, let's come back to it later because it has students learning word into it, right? Let me underline it. Let's read fourth. The stakeholders are management or executives of the institute. So one of the stakeholders, there would be many stakeholders in academic analytics, but major stakeholders, the larger chunk of stakeholders comes from executive or management committee of the institute. So this is also correct. Now let us come back to option 3, that the focus is on students learning. So here, to run a particular business or to run a particular university or a school, individual students learning, if it is happening, not happening, I would not be bothered that much because the teachers would be taking care of that. I would be concerned about what is happening at the bigger picture, how my school is doing, whether the fees is coming on time, whether the salary is getting disbursed on time, or we have to buy something for the school, or we have to spend some money. Then I would be concerned with those kind of decisions or those kind of matters, but not so much about individual students learning. Again, here this would be the focus is on student learning is in learning analytics and not the academic analytics. Okay, yeah, they don't focus on students learning. Yes, Aviral, you are right, they don't focus on students learning. Yeah, so going to question 6. Mid-semester exams are over. Then I'm sorry, let me do a little bit up so that all the options are visible. Yeah, mid-semester exams are over and the course teacher plotted the histogram of student scores to check how normally the scores are distributed. So I hope everyone is aware about histogram and what is histogram. So histogram will tell us about if there are marks, say from 1 to 100. So between 0 to 10, how many students are there? Between 10 to 20, how many students are there? Between 21 to 30, how many students? And so on. But 91 to 100, how many students? So we have number of students into each bin. It is called bin, like 0 to 10, then 11 to 20, then 20 to 30, and then we are counting the number of students in that bin, the frequency. And then we are plotting on x-axis, we will have 0 to 100, and here we will have number of students. Say suppose 10, 20, 30 and 90. Okay, so here there is one student, here there are say 5 students, then there are 10 students, and now there are some 15 students, and again. So this is the histogram, the frequency distribution. That's a histogram. So now when I have plotted this type of histogram, now what analytics I would be doing: demonstrative analytics, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and diagnostic analytics. So okay, I see a few of you have gotten confused with the word demonstrative analytics. Okay, so that was I think the TAs who set the questions, they I think purposefully gave this demonstrative analytics word, but there is there is no such thing called demonstrative analytics. Okay, it's quite confusing, but there is no such thing as demonstrative analytics. There is descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. Okay, there are four types: describe what is happening, then diagnose why a particular thing has happened, then predict the near future, and prescribe how you will optimize the teaching learning environment. Okay, so there are four types of analytics. Now there is nothing like demonstrative analytics. Okay, so you can, slowly you will get hang of it: describe, then diagnose, then predictive analytics, and then prescribing analytics. Okay, so don't get confused. If such confusing words are coming, we have to be like, try to recall, watch the videos also, go through these sessions also, so there'll be a repetition of the words. So those words, you don't have to memorize. That will become part of your, as you become familiarized yourself with the words, you will know the meaning of the words, and you will be more confident into using them at right places. Okay, so no need to worry, this was just first week, so slowly you will get hang of it. So this was describing the data, describing what has happened. Okay, so Aviral has rightly said in the chat box that he was observing that what has happened. So he observed what has happened, so it becomes the part of descriptive analytics. Okay, so now coming to question 7, pattern mining technique is used for. So when we were discussing what is educational data mining, I told you that we would be mining for the patterns, the frequent patterns in the data of the actions which students have performed. So which actions or which set of actions led to better learning, and which set of action did not lead to achievement of learning outcome. So to do all those things, we need to mine for patterns. So that is pattern mining. So pattern mining is one of the data mining techniques. And so senior researchers working in learning analytics and EDM area, they have modified the existing pattern mining technique for using into educational setting, for EDM context. So they have come up with something called sequential pattern mining and differential sequential mining. So what happens is, we try to identify consecutive actions, the common consecutive actions. Okay, I'm reading something and then going to quiz and then coming back to reading. Some people are watching videos and then going to quiz and coming back to watch the videos. So these are the frequent patterns which are observed among students. So when we group those, we differentiate, and then we try to compare and contrast between those patterns of the students. So in a way, we have modified one pattern mining technique, that okay, you observe consecutive actions and kind of get patterns out of those actions. So that was the pattern mining, data mining technique of pattern mining. Then we modified, or we adapted that pattern mining into educational setting by comparing and contrasting between two groups, and sometimes skipping the action in between while considering consecutive actions. So when you are browsing the topics, the list of the topics, that action is not so important, so we will skip that. What happens when there are reading multiple times, so we will club it together and consider reading multiple times. So all those things we did for modifying the existing pattern mining technique into educational setting, and that has become part of EDM, so that we can make some conclusions about how teaching learning is happening. Okay, so that we are able to optimize the teaching learning environment better. So pattern mining is used for, I'm seeing a lot of option 2, diagnostic. Yeah, So it is diagnostic analytics because we are trying to understand which action led to the outcome. So we are trying to get the answer of why question. Yeah. So it is diagnostic analytics. Yes, Akshay, please, I see your hand raised. Please, I'll keep the screen onto this question. If you have any question, please unmute and ask. So Akshay Kumar Jha, 23 21 32 03, you have raised your hand. I hope I am audible. If you have any questions or concerns, please type in the chat box or unmute and ask. Yes, this recording will be shared every week. It will be shared to you via Swayam portal, and apart from that, I have pinned one comment in the beginning to the YouTube channel where I will be uploading this recording after every session, so that those who have missed a particular week, they can go back and watch that recording. And if you want to ask questions, then please do attend these live sessions so that you can ask questions one on one and we can have discussion. Okay, Akshay, you are saying pattern mining could be predictive analytics. It will not be predictive analytics, because in predictive analytics what we do is, based on the existing data, we try to predict what will happen in near future. But in pattern mining technique, particularly only the pattern mining technique, we are trying to understand with the help of existing data what are the frequent actions. And once we have that frequent actions or frequent patterns with us, only then we will be come to the conclusion, or that will be feeding as a base or as data to our predictive analytics. Yeah? But pattern mining itself will not be predictive analytics, it will be diagnostic analytics, because we will be trying to understand why a particular things happened. How we will get to know why a particular thing is happened? By understanding what action students have taken, or what interaction has happened between teacher and student. So once we understand that pattern of actions by teacher or by students or by student teacher both, if we are able to critically identify, okay, this after this interaction, this has happened, after interaction xy, z has happened which was not desirable. So that means we need to identify interaction z, x and y, so that we can avoid interaction the outcome of z. So for that we need to work on the existing data, and only then we will be able to implement this recommendation. So what you are trying to tell me is that once we have this pattern, we will be able to use it for recommendation system, so that becomes part of prescriptive or predictive. But alone in itself, pattern mining is not part of prescriptive or predictive, it is part of diagnostic. They are all connected, there is no hard boundary on any of the analytics. Okay, you need to understand that it's not a bin that from one bin or from one bucket you can't pour water onto other bucket. It's nothing like that, they are all interconnected. Okay, so I see a lot of questions. Akshay, I hope your question is answered. Okay, so Ria is saying describe some numerical problems. So Ria, we would be discussing numerical problems as and when they come into assignments. Okay, so don't worry, for week 1 there were no numerical problems, so we did not do numerical problems. And since this is a no code and no very non-technical technical course, so there would be very few numerical problems, not many, and all numerical problems are something which we have done before and not very difficult. So don't worry about numerical problems. Another question is about week 0. Is week 0 important? Actually week 0 is not graded. It is just so that we are able to, or the instructors are able to know the prior knowledge with which the students are coming. So that's fine. Week 0 was not important, so I did not even start with week 0. I started with week 1. Okay, so don't worry about week 0. Week 0 is like kind of gauging your prior knowledge. Coming to question 8. So we have 10 questions for today. So once we are done with the question 10, we can take up all the questions. Okay, so let's finish the questions, and then we can take up rest of the questions. Which of the following question does not belong to predictive analytics type? Okay, so which is not predictive? Okay, not predictive analytics. Okay, so then question option 1, what is the average score of all students in maths exam? So what type of analytics would be this? Finding answer to this question, what is the average score of all students in math exam? Let us try to answer what is the analytics type of each of the each of the question. Okay, so first is what is the average? Yes, you are right, descriptive. I got two right answers in chat box. Very nice, thank you. Descriptive analytics. Then then option 2, what will be the performance of students in end semester exam? So that is, this particular statement is which type of analytics? What will be the performance is we are trying to predict. Yes, that's right. I'm getting nice answers in the chat box. Thank you for being so interactive. This is descriptive. Try to understand my handwriting. There was very less space there. In which course will the student enroll in the next semester? Okay, we are talking about next semester. Yes, I got so many correct answer in the chat box. Then again it becomes predictive. I hope now it is more legible. Yeah, because even I couldn't make out whether I have written prescriptive or predictive. Yeah, so then last one, what is the average performance of the class over the semester? Okay, over the semester, what is the performance? So this could be, we are trying to understand what has happened. Okay, what has happened in entire semester. So what question is? Again, descriptive analytics. So which is not predictive? So two options we found of descriptive analytics, so those are not predictive, and two options are predictive analytics. So option 1 and option 4 are not predictive, rest are predictive. Okay, so no doubts in this question. Shall we move to question 9? So question, yes, I have gotten so many correct answers in the chat box. That's nice, thank you so much. Let's move on to question 9. A maths teacher has data about students mid-semester courses in his course. He then correlates the mid-semester scores with their final exam scores. He realizes that students who failed in mid-semester exams also failed in their final exam. So what type of analytics he has done? Nice, I'm getting all correct answers in the chat box. So he tried to diagnose that why a particular thing has happened, and he found the answer. So there were few students who failed in the exam, so the teacher has tried to understand that why students have failed the exam. So what he did was he tried to establish a correlation between their mid-semester scores and their final exam scores, and he found some correlation, and then he realized that okay, students who are failing in mid-semesters are also failing in their final exam. So he tried to understand why a particular thing has happened, and if he has found answer to that why. Okay, here he has found the why. Why is what? Who failed the mid-semester exam also failed in their final exam. So people who have failed final exam, why that has happened? Because they had failed in their mid-semester exam also. So that's the question to the why answer. So why answer is diagnostic. So what correlation is? We are trying to correlate a variable with other variable. So sometimes if a person who is not attending exam will also fail, so there is a very strong correlation between attending and passing the exam, attending exam and passing the exam. So if somebody is not attending the exam, will not pass. So yes, you're right, correlates or correlation, establishing a correlation is part of diagnostic analysis, because we are trying to find out the underlying reason or underlying cause of a particular thing or a particular learning outcome. So that becomes part of diagnostic analytics. Coming to last question, question 10. Scaffolding students to achieve their learning goal and personalization in an intelligent tutoring systems are example of option 1 descriptive analytics, option 2 diagnostic analytics, option 3 predictive analytics, and option 4 prescriptive analytics. Okay, let me check the chat box once. Okay, nice, I'm getting all correct answers here. Yes, it is prescriptive analytics, because scaffolding is supporting, giving them nudges or helping them only a little bit whenever it is required. That's the scaffolding. So scaffolding students to achieve their learning goal and personalization in intelligent tutoring system. So intelligent tutoring system, what the entire system does is it identifies students need, and it tries to personalize the content accordingly. So when we are taking such actions, we are, yes, absolutely, you're correct. I see Aviral Tiwari's post in the chat box. He's saying that it is prescriptive because it leads to how a goal will be achieved. Yeah, so final learning outcome or final learning goal. So we are kind of pushing our students so that they are able to achieve that final learning goal or learning outcome. So that's why these two statements are part of prescriptive analytics. Yeah. So now I open the floor for open discussion. I'm done with discussing all 10 questions. So now we can discuss among ourselves. And if there are any questions regarding the course or regarding the sessions happening here, the floor is open for all. You can raise hand and unmute. Hand raise because 2 or more people should not be starting to talk simultaneously. Yes, Amitav Ghosh has raised hand. You can go. Yeah. I think that's part of NPTEL marketing team. So they are doing some academic analytics and sending the emails to everyone who has registered for the exam. Yeah, so this was a very nice example of how academic analytics works. So we are trying to establish a correlation between how many people are attending the online session, the live session every week, and whether that is affecting the pass percentage of the course, students' performance in the course. And we are trying to establish this correlation. And the NPTEL folks sitting in IIT Madras are doing academic analytics. They are seeing that, okay, there are some 2000 3000 students enrolled for the score. Let us send email to everybody so that they register for the exam and we get the registration fees. So they are concerned about that. Okay. So other question in the chat box is, which type of questions will come in the final exam? Very similar to the questions in the assignments. We will be discussing the 12 assignments for each weeks. So it's a rule of NPTEL that the final exam questions should not be very different from the questions in assignment. So the exam questions will be very similar. They will not be too difficult, and they would be not outside the syllabus or not outside the content which is covered in the lecture videos, and not outside the content which is covered in the live sessions, because these live sessions are based on the lecture video or the what is getting covered there in the lectures in the course. Okay, I'm asking because before I have given exam, it was not from assignment. Okay, that is very surprising, Ria, because that's the NPTEL rule. So when we set question paper for NPTEL courses, we are supposed to have at least 60% similarity between assignment questions. That means 60% questions should be similar to the assignment questions. But you don't worry about this course. This course will be the assignment questions and the final exam questions will be very similar. 60% of the questions will be similar. Only the 40% questions will be something apply level, where you have to actually use the concepts which you have learned to answer the questions. They will not be out of syllabus. It will be just you will have to apply what you have learned. Right now all these questions, the similar questions, if the similar question comes in the exam, you will be able to remember, recall, and then answer the questions. Only the 40% questions, 40%, that means what, 5 to 8 questions will be, not even 5 to 8, I think 4 to 5 questions will be something different or something new in the final exam. Okay. Then next question, can we go through every question once again? Really you want to go through every question? There were 10 questions. Okay, if there is time at the end, we can do that. Let me take up the next question. It was different assignments, theory part, exam, numerical. Okay, don't worry, there will not be much numerical in this course, and even if there are numericals, there are very very limited number of numericals in this question, and we will be doing practice of that numerical questions also. We'll be solving that numerical questions. Will it be out of 75 or 50? Exam it was out of 50. Okay, this I need to clarify. I will get back to you next week's session about the marks in the final exam, because it is just beginning of the semester, and I'm not sure if the question papers are already set for this subject. Okay, so I will talk with the current TAs and I'll get back to you on this, that whether it is out of 75 or out of 50. Okay. I was enrolled lately about past assignment given. This is the first assignment, Garima. So this is last week's assignment 1. So since this is first week of the course, what we will be doing every week is we will be discussing last year's assignment questions in this session, and we will be trying to solve the things together. We will be doing some quick revision of that week's content and then diving into the 10 questions of the assignment. Okay, so that is how we are going to do. I won't be giving any assignment. We will be just solving the questions. So I did not get your question properly, but I'll be saying yes. Akshay, you can unmute and ask. So but I'm trying to answer what I got. Those logistics, those are not really on top of my tongue. So I don't remember the dates exactly, but yes, I think you are right. A week's time is given. So I'm assuming, I think assignment 1 date is over, I think, or it is upcoming. I'm not sure. Those. Okay. So then I think, see, I know one thing for sure, that assignment 0 is not graded. Your score in assignment 0 will not be considered for your final grade. That one thing I'm sure about. So if you have missed the assignment 0 deadline, don't worry about it. Don't try not to miss assignment 1 deadline. Okay. So so that means the past assignment would only be assignment 0, and assignment 0 is not graded, so don't worry. And from now on, try to keep up the weekly assignments. If you have not gotten any time to go through the content, try to attend these sessions, because here you will have to we will do the quick recap of the content and we'll solve similar questions. So once we have solved similar questions, the assignment questions solving will not be difficult. Okay, so as I had gotten request to go through the questions once again, so we'll start with question 1. Teacher decided, I'll read out the question, and all of you can kind of yeah. So this session link will be uploaded under separate tab of problem solving sessions. Okay, so don't worry, it will get updated every week. Every week's session recording will be shared with you all, so don't worry about that. Okay, so let's come back to this. Okay, let's wait for 1 minute if there are any more questions or concern. Then we can start going through the questions once again. Is there any plan for AA sessions as well? Jaya, what's AA session? I'm not well versed with the terminology. I don't know AA session. What do you mean by AA session? Academic analytics. Oh, no. We won't be doing academic analytics. That's not the focus. We'll be only focusing on LA, which is learning analytics. Yeah. Can we have live session on Excel or other data visualization tools? So that demo video for no, next semester also academic analytics is more of a business kind of subject. I mean, it would be a management subject and not the what you can say not core engineering subject. So this is learning science subject, or learning analytics itself is a subject, and academic analytics would be more of how to run the business, and also that would be little out of scope for us. Yeah. Excel or other data visualization tools. So there are some demo videos in the course content. Yeah. So ISAT tool and other data visualization tools, their demo is part of the course content. So as we will progress, you will see. If needed, I can give demo of ISAT when that assignment, when that week comes. Okay. Excel will be little too long, so we will not go to the Excel because we also have time constraint, and for this session also, for live session also, and otherwise also for course also, there are many courses getting run for Excel itself, so that is also little out of scope. So I'll just take a quick sip of water, and then we will start with the question 1 to 10 if there are no more questions. Okay, so no more questions, I'm assuming. We can once again go through the questions one by one. A teacher decided to conduct extra remedial lectures 1 week before the final exam for students who failed the mid-semester. Okay, so there is some action taken to avoid so that the students who have failed the mid-semester, they don't fail in their final exam. So that is some kind of remedial thing, or it is getting something of sort of prescribing some action or optimizing the learning experience so that the undesirable learning outcome of failure doesn't happen. So this action becomes part of prescriptive analytics. Okay, so moving on to question 2. Using the mid-semester performance of the students in the class to anticipate students' performance in the final exam. So based on students' performance in mid-semester exam, we are trying to predict how they will perform in their final exams. Okay, so we are predicting something, so that becomes predictive analytics. Okay, here we are not describing anything, or we are not trying to understand why a particular thing has happened, but we are trying to predict that okay, this is something we have already established some correlation between mid-semester exam and the final semester exam. We have done that as part of our diagnostic analytics, and now we are using that correlation coefficient to predict what would be the final exam. Okay, so I don't remember who had asked, but there was a question regarding pattern mining, that pattern mining could be part of predictive analytics. Okay, so pattern mining itself is a part of diagnostic analytics, but with the help of pattern mining we can do predictive analytics. So similarly, finding out the correlation coefficient here between the mid-semester marks and the final semester marks is part of diagnostic analytics, but using that correlation, anticipating or predicting the marks of the final exam is predictive analytics. Sorry. Which of the following sentence is not true about educational data mining? So we discussed a lot about educational data mining, that how data mining techniques are getting adapted for educational setting, and we have kind of dived deeper into existing data mining technique and modified them and used in educational context. But mainly they are used to gain insights about the day, insights about the learning happening, how the learner centric information we are gaining from that data. So we are getting useful insights from that data, so this is also true. um, then it includes validating learner model or hypothesis about learning from learners and data. So again, yes, because that is what is happening in diagnostic analytics. Okay, we have some hypothesis that okay, mid semester marks may be having some correlation with the final marks. So that hypothesis we had, and with the help of diagnostic analytics of finding correlation, we tested that hypothesis. So that is also true about educational data mining. Okay, then it helps to make recommendations to the learners by analyzing that particular data. Again, somebody had posted that okay, pattern mining will be predictive because it will help us in making recommendations. So that making recommendations is part of predictive analytics, but the base is of diagnostic analytics, and all these processes are part of educational data mining. Okay, so the techniques which we are using for analysis of the data, the methods which we are using for analysis of the data, are part of data mining. So that's why this all these statements are true for data mining. And then the last statement comes that it is only a branch of artificial intelligence. So no, it is much more than that. Okay, it is not limited to branch of artificial intelligence. Okay, I see one hand raise. Amitav ji, you can unmute and ask questions if any. Hmm. Then also it is applicable. Okay, then also if we say there is only word which is kind of restricting to educational is this validating learner model or a hypothesis about learning. That may not be true about general data mining, but the first statement is very true about general data mining. Okay, data mining gives, be it any data, if like YouTube browsing data or Netflix browsing data, from that also we can get the insights by mining that data, the usage data, our usage data. So statement 1 is true for general data mining also and for educational data mining also, but statement 2 is pertaining to educational setting, and statement 3 is also pertaining to educational setting, because here we are talking about recommendation for learners particularly by analyzing their data. So this statement also is pertaining to educational data mining. Yeah, yeah. So this option 4 is something which is not true about educational data mining. Then question 4, which of the below statements is least important to academic analytics? Okay, so we have discussed this, that academic analytics have to make some administrative decisions for the schools, and they have to run their institutions, so they are more concerned about the higher level things which affect their decision making, like performance of their school or graduation rate in their university, and maybe attendance of their teachers, because they would be giving salary to teachers. So yes, attendance of teachers. But option 2, if we look carefully, pass percentage of students in course X, that is part of learning analytics and not the academic analytics, because we are learning analytics is more like learner centric. Okay, how we can help learner to achieve the learning outcome, how we can optimize the learning environment for learners. So all that, those type of statements, that will be part of learning analytics and not academic analytics. For academic analytics people, such statements will be of least important, because for them the bigger picture is important for managerial decision making or for financial decision making. So here the answer is option 2. Okay, pass percentage of students in course X, because we are this statement is more student centric and not the institute centric, or doesn't concern the financial decision making. Yeah. So question 5, which of the following statement is not true about academic analytics? So previous was what was of least concern to academic analytics people, and this is not true about academic analytics. So academic analytics, the people who are doing academic analytics, they are providing support to operational and financial decision making of stakeholder. Yes, that is very much true. Then they focus on business of the institution. Their goal is to keep the business of the institution running. So that's also true. Option 4, stakeholders are managements or executives of the institutes. That is also true, because student will not be able to take the executive level decision or financial decision or operational decision of the institute. They have to be the higher level people who are sitting in the management or who are the top level executives. Only they can take such decisions. So yes, that is also true. Now coming to option 3, the focus is on students learning. So it is not student centric, but it is institute centric or a business centric. So when there is a mention of student centric, that means they are talking about learning analytics and not the academic analytics. Okay, so not true. The correct option is option 3. Moving on to question 6. So please feel free to interrupt me if there are any questions. I'm not pausing for questions after every question, because this is our second run. That's why I'm going a little faster. Okay, but if you have questions or concerns, please raise hand. I will stop or pause at that point. So question 6. Mid-semester exams are over and the course teacher plotted the histogram of students' scores to check how normally the scores are distributed. Okay, so the normal distribution and all those things, many of you would be aware about probability of normal distribution, the bell curve, and how marks are normally coming under normal distribution, how they are part of bell curve and normally distributed. So don't get confused by those words. They are just there for showing the frequency of score when a particular marks are marks of the in case of marks of students. Okay, so if we are plotting a graph of histogram, histogram is nothing but the frequency count graph. Okay, the frequency graph. How many students have scored marks between 0 to 20? How many students have scored marks between 21 to 40? Then 41 to 60, 61 to 80, and 81 to 100. So we have this buckets of the gap of marks, and in each bucket how many students we can put, like how many students have gotten marks between 0 to 20, how many students they will be plotted here like this, how many students have gotten marks between 21 to 40, so that those number of students, how many students we can put in that bucket. So that will be plotted as another bar graph. Then comes the next bucket, 41 to 60. Then we'll count how many students are there in that particular bucket, and then we will plot it. So there will be number of students on y-axis and the score on the x-axis. Yeah, so this is the histogram, distribution of frequency graph. So when when a teacher is plotting such graph, they are describing what has happened. They are describing the data of students score. So they are doing some descriptive analytics here. Okay, so it is descriptive analytics. Yes, Amitavji. Yeah. Sorry. It could be diagnostic purpose, but here we are simply describing the data, what has happened. We don't have any hypothesis here to cross check or to validate. So in diagnostic, what happens is generally we have some hypothesis that okay, this group of students have done well, so there would be some actions which would have led them to score more in at the end. So to find those actions, that okay, what actions have led them to score more, what pattern mining if we are performing, then that becomes part of diagnostic analysis. So there also we are just describing what has happened. Okay, these actions have happened, but then we had some hypothesis that okay, there would be some actions which would have led to that group of students to score more in the end semester exam. So diagnostic analytics has some association with hypothesis or validation of some model, But here we don't have any validation. We just want to know how many students are those students, what is the normal distribution or not. So we are just looking at the data. uh, Here we don't have intention of optimizing the learning environment only based on that data. Okay, okay, okay. So again, I will reiterate the thing that these descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics, they are not very separate. Okay, these boxes are not they are not separate. They are very interconnected, very interlinked. So this boundary for our purpose where we can draw is by reading the question whether they're doing something else. Okay, what how normally they are distributed. Okay, is there any mention of teacher wanting to do if it is not normally distributed? No. So we can assume that teacher is stopping there. Okay, you just want to see if they are normally distributed or not. So generally histogram has this normality of the distribution associated with it. So we can, okay, there is no mention of intention of teacher of taking any further action or testing any hypothesis. You just want to okay, okay. Okay, okay, okay. But I mean, yeah, my thought process into giving it descriptive analytics was very simple. Okay, we are just describing that data. We are just showing that whether it is normally distributed or not normally distributed. Yeah, because we are not trying to diagnose why it is not normally distributed. Yeah, so there is no investigation about the why question. The invest Yeah, so investigation is only about what is the score. uh, yeah. So yeah, I hope so. If there is any confusion, I have this cheat sheet over here. Okay, I call this cheat sheet because here you can simply, okay, what has happened is descriptive analytics, why it has happened is diagnostic analytics, and what will happen in near future could be predictive analytics, and what uh, how to make it happen, what action we can take to make that particular thing a reality, how we can optimize learning environment, that will become part of prescriptive analytics. Yeah, so not getting answered you. Right. Yeah. So here we are concerned about only what has happened. So this is a without confusion getting to this, what is happening and when is happening, what type of analytics, how to deduce. So you can just keep these questions in mind, and then so it's a very simple, non-confusing way, I think, what has happened. So in question 6, the answer was sorry, the matter which was displayed was what has happened. Okay, what was the score and what has happened in mid semester exam. So simply descriptive analytics. Yeah, I hope I have not created any more confusion. Okay, because these words are, yeah. Okay, okay. Okay, then comes the pattern mining question, that pattern mining technique is used for. Then here again we are trying to find the answer to why question. Okay, so why, if I'm analyzing frequent action patterns for say two groups of students, one for high scoring students and one group of low scoring students, then I have some hypothesis in mind that okay, high scoring students would have done something different than low scoring student, which has led them to score more. Okay, so now that what something they have done is how I will find is through pattern mining techniques, by mining their patterns for frequent actions, group of frequent actions, group of 3 frequent actions, group of 5 frequent actions, and so on. So this pattern mining will help me understand why those high scoring learners were able to why it has happened, what actions they have taken that made them score more, or what made them to achieve their learning outcomes. Okay, so here the question is why. That's why it becomes part of diagnostic analytics. And as I said earlier, there is no very strict division between these analytics. One analytics feeds to other, and when we want to make inferences, we have to kind of take help of all these, at least these three analytics, and then we have to take the action in prescriptive analytics. Okay, so these three analytics, the wait, let me be more clear. The descriptive analytics, the diagnostic analytics, and the predictive analytics. This we have to use together in order to be able to make some inferences. Like we discussed in previous example, okay, if the score is normally distributed or not, we are checking. Okay, we found out that the score is not normally distributed, so now we will dive deeper into diagnostics. Okay, what made some students fall on the left hand side of the curve, which is low scoring, low part of the curve, and what must have made students, very few students on the high scoring side. So then we will dive deeper into what has led to that situation, what actions of these students, or what type of interaction the low scoring group had with the teacher, the type of interaction high scoring students had with the teacher, and so on. We'll go into that analysis. We'll try to analyze the patterns of interaction between student teacher. If our hypothesis is that, okay, high scoring learner interacted with the teachers more, they were asking more questions in the classroom, or they were posting more questions in the forum or the chatbot. Okay, that is the hypothesis. And then with the help of data, we will mine for those patterns, we'll mine for those actions, that how many times the raising questions or asking questions in the chatbot has happened, or asking questions in the forum has happened. Then we'll try to compare and contrast about those data in these both the groups. So that becomes a part of pattern mining or the diagnostic analytics. And then we found some correlation between the number of questions asked in the classroom and the final score. So we have done predictive analytics, or we have developed a learner model based on number of questions getting asked in the chatbot or the forum. So it is that is how all these descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, and predictive analytics are interconnected and feed onto one another. And with the help of all these three, we have a story, we have a hypothesis which we have proved. With the help of that, now we can predict that, okay, more number of questions are getting asked, the probability of passing or scoring, high scoring of that student is more. So now we know the course of action, which is to promote or to encourage students to ask more questions. So then we will be doing that in the prescriptive analytics. Yeah, so that is how all these four are interconnected, and then they feed into each other, and there is no strict boundary between these. Okay, so pattern mining is part of diagnostic analytics here, because it helps us answering the why question, that why a particular thing has happened. Now question 8, which of the following question does not belong to predictive analytics type? So as the name suggests, predicting is we have to predict something happening in near future. So it's a simple English question that, okay, what will happen in the future, or in which courses will the student enroll in the next semester. So simply, by understanding the language, we can simply say that, okay, the questions with will be part of the predictive analytics. But we in previous discussion we tried to in the last discussion we tried to identify which two are predictive and which two are descriptive. So we found out that what is the average score. Here we are finding the average. So here the question getting answered is what. Yeah, so then that becomes the part of descriptive analytics. Then the last question last question is, what is the average performance of class over the semester. Again, here we are finding the answer to what question, which is I hope I'm audible, because suddenly my headphone battery has run out, and let me just keep them. Am I audible? Yeah, okay, great. So, okay, yeah, great. So where was I? Yeah, then these two what questions are of descriptive analytics type, and then what will be the performance, and in which course student will enroll, that becomes part of predictive analytics. Okay, Then question 9. Maths teacher has data about students' mid-semester scores in his course. He then correlates the mid-semester scores with their final exam scores, and he realizes that students who failed in mid-semester exams also fail in the final exam. So what type of analytics he is doing here? Okay, so here the teacher had some hypothesis. He had data of their mid-semester score and everything. He had then he realized that there is some sorry, he had this hypothesis that there would be some correlation. He had the data, he found the correlation coefficient, and then he found a strong correlation between mid-semester exam score and the final exam score. So this is again part of diagnostic analysis, and with the help of this he can also predict which students are going to fail. So for them, that would be predictive analytics, and for them he can conduct remedial classes. So conducting that remedial classes will be part of prescriptive analytics. So right now what he is doing is he's stopping at finding out the correlation. He's not going on to predicting which students are going to fail, or he's not planning to conduct any remedial classes for students who will fail. He's just stopping that, okay, there is some correlation, I'm done with this. So then that itself is part of diagnostic analytics. Okay, so don't get confused here. He is not doing anything more than finding correlation. So that makes this scenario a case of diagnostic analytics. I hope there is no confusion in this question. Yeah, so let's move on to question 10. Scaffolding students to achieve their learning goal and personalization in an intelligent tutoring system. So these two are examples of. So what do we mean by scaffolding? Scaffolding is helping students. So scaffolding would be by giving some hints to the students or by pushing them to work harder towards a particular subject. So that will come under scaffolding. Just like for painting a building or for plastering a building, there is a bamboo structure, the rod structure outside constructed outside the building, where workers will stand and paint the building or do the plastering of the building. So that kind of external support is called scaffolding in teaching learning scenario as well, where students will need some little help, like when we teach young kids to write, we hold their hand and teach them how to write. So that is way of scaffolding. So that's scaffolding. Okay, so scaffolding to achieve their yes, Amitav ji.
I was just wondering, of course, I have understood the answer prescriptive, but is this also possible that this is descriptive?
No, not possibility. It will not be descriptive, because here we would be personalizing something for learners or scaffolding them for a particular task. That means we have already done the diagnostic analysis and we have identified the points where students need help, or they need course correction, or they need to modify their actions. So when we have identified those instances or those in a timeline, though that particular point where they need some extra help or extra nudge, that okay, don't, you're not reading a content. So say I'll give you an example that okay, I have a system for for example some electrical engineering course, where students are supposed to read the theory and then they are supposed to go to a simulator to test their theory. Okay, so if somebody is not reading that theory fully, he will not be able to test that theory successfully in simulator. Okay,
Right.
so what simple thing we can do is we can put a timer at that page, reading page. So if I'm spending 2 seconds on the reading page and quickly going to the simulator, that doesn't need a rocket science to prove that I have not read the theory, because in 3 seconds I cannot read a page full of complex electrical engineering theory. So at that point we have identified the instance with the help of time. So we conduct this study with the help of say 50 students. We collect their data and we deduce that to successfully read, or in order to gain information about that theory, a student needs to spend at least 15 seconds on that read page. So students who are not spending 15 seconds on that read page, that means they are not gaining any information and they need to spend more time. So we have done this kind of diagnostic analytics on that data, and we have found out that okay, we need to if somebody is trying to click on the simulator before 15-second marks, then we will give a pop-up that okay, hey, it looks like you have not read the page, please read the theory completely and only then go to the simulator to test your theory. So that way we are personalizing the environment for that learner, right? So then that personalization becomes our optimizing the learning environment for that learner action, course correction action. So such course correction action or optimizing the learner environment for learner for better learning experience or for better learning outcomes, that is part of prescriptive analytics. So here scaffolding and
This is
personalization.
absolutely clear, ma'am. Only thing is, if I was looking back at the cheat sheet and I was asking myself the question of what happened to this, I was thinking we are again getting this what happened over
Oh,
here.
no, this is okay. So let
From
me
that perspective, I
do
was
this.
just saying.
So scaffolding and by personalization,
Correct.
what we are doing is optimizing the learning environment.
Okay. So for the prescriptive thing,
Huh.
yeah,
So for prescriptive, how we can
yeah,
help students achieve that learning outcome by way of providing them scaffolding or by way of personalizing the content for
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
So now in the cheat sheet you can add this also. So this, if optimizing of the learning environment is happening, then that would be prescriptive analytics.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope there is some clarity about what type of scenario is which analytics. Let me mention this optimizing learning environment. I think I have, but let me cross check. If it is not mentioned, then I will write it down. Yes, optimization of learning environment is happening in prescriptive. Okay. Let me erase this so that there is no confusion, improve my writing a bit. Okay, so this optimization happens only in prescriptive. Okay, and rest of the things are fine. I will just remove the underlining so that no confusion. Okay, so this you can refer to. This I will share. This PDF I will share with everybody. Okay. Okay, so if there are any more questions or any points you wish to discuss, the floor is open. So hoping to see all of you again next week. We will be meeting next Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. There are for book suggestion. There are handbook of you can look for this solar handbook. If you are more into this, you will find on LAC web page. Yeah. So this solar handbook is kind of Bible for learning analytics, or Bhagavad Gita for learning analytics, or Quran for learning analytics, whatever you want to call. And apart from that, there is nothing much, but this will help for sure if you are interested. The solar handbook for learning analytics. It's called a handbook for learning analytics. Handbook for learning analytics. So this is not mandatory reading, but if you are interested, you can read. So reading will not be directly correlated with your performance in the final exam for sure. Going through the lecture content will be enough for a good performance in your final exam. But if you want to conduct your own research studies, or you want to practice learning analytics in your life, then I would recommend this like handbook for learning analytics. Otherwise, it is not needed. The lectures and the interactions are sufficient. Yes, Akshay.
Ma'am, I was asking about the book that is given in the SWAYAM portal. So is it that also sufficient if we read that book for the semester?
Actually, I don't know which book is given. Can you tell me which book is mentioned on Swayam platform?
Ma'am, the name is not given. Just I because I have watched the video. It's about, I guess it's mostly the what sir has taught in the YouTube videos. It's mostly about that only.
So he would be recommending the same book, Handbook of Learning Analytics. That is what we all read. So don't worry, it would
Okay,
be the
ma'am.
same book. If you're talking from Ramsar's PPT, then he's talking about this book only.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, Amandeep. There will be only one class in a week, that is on Tuesday. Yes, you will be getting announcements in the announcement session for sure. I would prefer you asking question in person here in this session rather than posting in the forum, because forum I don't check very frequently because I'm not active TA of the course. My duty as TA of the course is only to conduct these sessions. So if you have any questions in between, you can post it in the forum. But I may not be seeing. I don't promise that I would go through forum before every session. It would be better that if you attend this session and ask the questions in person. Okay, that would be one request from my side. And there will be only one class in a week. There will be 12 classes every week. Every Tuesday is so today was first class, and then 11 more such classes will happen every Tuesday 7 p.m. Meeting link will be same as of today for all 12 weeks of the course. I will be sharing the recordings with everyone via YouTube. That will be updated in the sheet by tomorrow, and you should be able to access that sheet through the course page on Swayam portal. So don't worry, everything will be shared, even this PDF with marking and discussion that I will be sharing. And you will find link to everything from Swayam portal itself. There will be a Google Sheet shared with you all. I will be updating that Google Sheet every week. And I have pinned, if you don't want to do that, I have pinned link to the YouTube channel in the chat. I will be uploading the recordings through that channel also, only, no other channel. So that's one way. Okay, I hope I have answered all logistic questions. Any more questions? So if there are no more questions, we can close this session today. 10 minutes before, I think 9 minutes before 8:51. I think we can do that. Okay. Thank you all. See you next week. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, I'm ending the meeting for now.